they still gotta play us. Let's go, baby. Woo!
Hey, don't run that ball on the one Hubbard, showed you how that go down. Feeling like Santino, tell him we want all the smoke now. We ain't snooping that commercial, we don't put no smoke down. Plus we back and you can't hide, so it ain't nowhere safe to go now. And we always gon' turn up in that jungle every time. How we ain't gon' win when we loaded in with 9? Plus T just came in signed, so the city gon' be fine. Jamar say he open every time and he ain't never lied. Look at how we win at it, the size of the old line. Giving Burrow extra time should be a federal crime. Hey, we right back on that path again. Put the division back to the test, they won't pass again. Orlando and Trent Brown, that's the Tower Twins. Feel like we only getting better as we stacking wins.
And we stacking.
Giuseppe in for 6, that's a gritty again. AFC North battles getting gritty again. It's Yoshi second year, we just brought Burton in. Vaughn back to ring some bells, get the cracking again.
Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the show. This is Sports with Strawberry Ice. I'm your host, the Iceman, Jeff Turnipole. And as always, I'm bringing you sports from a West Side point of view right here in the great city of Cincinnati, Ohio, home of my new tailgate. And I don't have the details yet, but it's coming very, very soon, I promise. But I can tell you this. We will be live at the Moorland Lager House each and every Bengals home game and each and every Tuesday night at the Moorland Lager House during the Bengals season. Join us there. On Sundays, you get access to the tailgate. You get access to Moorline food. You get access to Moorline beer. You get access to the Moorline bourbon room. You get access to the former Bengal player that's going to be there. Access to me, a DJ. It's going to be a party, baby. We're kicking this season off. This is going to be our road to New Orleans. It's New Orleans or bust, baby. Join us at the Moorline Lager House between now and then. I might go down there tomorrow and watch the game if you guys want to come hang out. Yeah, at 1 o'clock. We'll see. Anyway, check out the Moorline Lager House. Also, if you have not been to Midwest Best Barbecue, I ask you this question all the time. Why the hell not? Get out there. 275 Wards Quarter Avenue exit. They are delicious wings. If you like wings, you like the Dillinator wings, which is probably my favorite, in honor of Corey Dillon. CTB wings, in honor of Cam Taylor Britt. You got the Uno wings. You got the G-Funk. You got all kinds of wings out there. They're delicious. Pulled pork sandwiches. Check out Midwest Best Barbecue. Also, shows brought to you by Meyer Door and Window and more at www.meyercincinnati.com. I have them in my house. I highly recommend you get them in yours on nice hot days. It keeps you nice and cool inside. When the wintertime comes around, it keeps you nice and warm. Again, check out Meyer Windows and Doors. Also, my West Side peeps, you guys look for a place. If you don't want to go down to the Moorline House, go to Hail Mary's. Check out their ticket to the game, or excuse me, your ticket to the game. They have a big-ass TV screen, beer specials, free parking. I always say free parking, but if you've ever been to Cheviot, there's not a lot of parking there. They got free parking right across the street. Food trucks, it's a great time. Again, that's Hail Mary's, your ticket to the game. What is up to everybody in the chat? We got Brad in there, Paul's in there, Strangers in there, Dustin, Jeremy, and Crypt Keeper. What is going on? Everybody, welcome to the show. Now, we have one of the nicest guys. I have to say one of the nicest guys around on the show today, Wayne Boxmiller. I got to tell, he didn't know I'm going to tell people this, but I saw him and Dave Lapham giving wristbands to kids the other day at practice to get them into the friends and family tent. And that's stuff that goes unnoticed. And he walked over there and him and Dave Lapham hooked him up, and I think it made the kids' day. He is the Bengals pre- and post-game host. He's an awesome dude. He's my guest. He's Wayne Boxmiller. Wayne, what's going on, brother?
How are you, man?
Good. So you did you hit him straight today? I know you weren't in Chicago, but how'd the golf game go today?
Well, really good. The Joe Nuxall Foundation golf outing, really great event. We were fortunate enough to place, got some nice parting gifts, and but really the foundation. I knew Joe Nuxall, like many people, big fan of his, and his son Kim and everybody involved, man, they do a tremendous job of raising money for scholarships, and then also doing scholarships and aiding teachers that are going into special ed to help them. But just the miracle fields and everything that they do, the support they get, really, man, just Marty Brenneman being there, never letting us forget the legacy of Joe Nuxall. So it was great, man, really great.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Hey, next year we'll have to get you to come out to the Jackpot Joey golf outing. We do that every year.
Absolutely.
We'll have to hook you up to that. But news of the day. I know you weren't in Chicago, but keep it up on Twitter. Two Bengals were carted off the field with air casts. Deontay Smith, who I've met, is just an awesome kid. And I feel terrible for him. And Chris Evans, both of them carted off the field. Now, I'm not trying to be harsh at all, but there's a very good chance that neither one of these guys might make the team. So to calm Bengal fans down, is it really that big of a deal? Or I think it's going to test the offensive line depth. Chris Evans, we might be going with 3 running backs. What's your thoughts on these guys and the injuries and how the Bengals are going to handle this?
First of all, you don't want to see anybody get injured.
No, absolutely not.
I think that's the first thing. I think secondly, you really don't know. Last year Chris was, doubtful in a lot of people's eyes, and he made the team, and so that's the purpose of preseason, man, is to play and make your case. It really, for me, excuse me, it's like a bunch of lawyers on the field. Everybody's making their case,
right,
and making a plea to the jury to say, hey, I belong on this team, and here's the reason why. But the reason is the film.
Right.
The film is your reason why. So if you don't get a chance, I really was talking to a young kid. I'm trying to think of his name, Michael Dow. Mm-hmm. And I went up to interview him, and he said, well, why do you want to interview me? And I said, young brother, listen, man, you're in this. Mm-hmm. You got an opportunity to go out here and put some on film, and whether you get 1 snap or 100, make something happen, man. I said, I'm going to talk to you because you could end up being a guy that nobody knew would make the team. And all of a sudden you made it. And I understood his thing. I think he thought, oh, you're just looking for somebody to interview, but I'm not at that level. And I had to kind of say to him, no, man, you're here and you belong. So anyway, when you hear of injuries and guys being carted off and things of that nature, for me, man, I'm always kind of like, because, you may not know the name on game 1, mm-hmm. but game 2 against the Bears, people will say, well, who is this guy?
Right.
Or in game 3 against the Colts, somebody can say, well, where did this guy come from? Right. Everybody just wants the opportunity, man. And so to have that taken away from you,
it sucks.
That's tough.
Yeah, it sucks. And like I said, Deontay Smith has been on my show before. He's the salt of the earth. He's an awesome dude. I feel awful for him. And Chris Evans, I like Wayne, I have been a big fan of his because I honestly, I don't know why the Bengals haven't used him more often. Because it seemed like when he's in there, he makes plays. But hopefully it's not that bad. But when they get carted off and they're in air cast, that's pretty, doesn't sound very good.
That's not.
That's not too good. But Charlie Jones was back on the field today. And, he got carted off last week, but he wasn't in an air cast. Things sounded better, after he got in the locker room. He was limping around or whatever.
Yeah.
But seeing him back on the field, I think this is going to be a big year for him. Not only in punt returns, but also in the slot position. Because I've heard Joe Burrow say his name in press conference and how impressed he is with him, along with Yoshi Voss. What's your thoughts on Charlie Jones this year?
Well, he's got to stay healthy.
Yeah.
So many guys have quote unquote potential, but there's an old saying from back in the days when I used to do sports marketing with these guys, and it still rings true today. You can't make the club from the tub. And,
best ability is availability, right?
Yeah. But he's got great hands. He showed that all through college. He's a north-south runner on punts, which is really good. And I think that given the chance, he will and could make some plays, but you just have to get through that. And many people don't really understand how much injuries play a part in making a team or a roster when you're not a Jamar Chase or a T. Higgins or a Logan Wilson or somebody like that, where whether you're injured or not, you're making the team.
Right.
The difference between a guy making a team and a guy not making the team may simply come down to the guy that's not injured.
Right. Now, question here. With the expansion of the games this year and less preseason games, and they're doing more and more of these joint practices, this is what I just my own personal opinion.
Sure.
I think eventually the preseason is going to be basically either no games or one game. And it's going to be a lot of these joint practices, and they might, I don't know, sell tickets for these things. So because actually I enjoy the joint practices more than I do the actual preseason games. I've seen them the last 2 years. 2 years ago we had the Rams, and last year we had the Packers in here, and I enjoyed watching that more than I did the actual game. Do you see them, especially if they go to 18 games eventually, which I think they're going to? Do you see them doing more and more of these joint practices, especially if they keep guys from fighting? Because that's one of the big things is, teams are worried about fights breaking out.
I think one of the values or advantages of a joint practice is for guys that you're trying to evaluate that didn't get a lot of time in the preseason game, you get to see them going up against someone else that's different, a different uniform, and see how they stack up. I'm more doubtful about the other part because I think the players union would probably intervene, because if you don't have that preseason game, it's going to become a regular season game, just like the fourth preseason game.
Right.
And so it means that the players, the starters, or the 53-man roster, those guys have to play more games in a quote-unquote season. And they're not getting paid any more money for that. It's just going to be the same salary. So I don't know that the Players Association would sign off on something that drastic. Again, they balked at the 3-game preseason. It's here. I was talking to Mike Brown. Interesting. Mike Brown said, "Hey, I can make a case for a 2-game preseason. I can make a case for a 6-game preseason." But the reality is, it's a level playing field. Mm-hmm. If they go to 2, if they expand to 4. If they go to 1, then everybody's got the same thing. But I will say something. For me, I kind of laugh at as I think about this. If these joint practices become a way that they can build in a new profit center, there will be joint practices every. And it is nice, man. It's good for the players. It's good for the fans. To get to meet players that you may not get a chance to engage with otherwise. And after practice, if they're able to stick around and sign and do autographs, I think it creates a deeper fan experience for the NFL fan. And after all, the NFL and its fan base right now is the epitome of what sports is all about from a marketing and profit perspective.
Yeah, exactly. And you're like you say, the fan perspective or the fan engagement on the practice field is awesome. I mean, that's close as you can get. To other teams that you've not seen before.
Right.
And they're, where I stand sometimes, and you stand, you're closer than I am, but I mean, we're, 10, 15 feet away from these other players. I mean, Aaron Donald 2 years ago walked right in front of me. It was that was before he took his helmet off and started swinging. But that right there, and that's where I'm kind of surprised that, I'm not surprised they haven't done it yet, but that's eventually, I think, what's going to happen. They're going to have these joint practices, and they're going to charge more money for these, or that's gonna be your preseason games or something like that. It's just what I think, but we'll see what happens. I don't know. Let's see here. Dustin has got a question. I get my mouse work. There you go. Box. Lots of NFL games were unwatchable last year due to injuries. It's becoming a watered down product with the pondering of the SZN, which I'm not sure what it means by that.
Season, I guess, yeah.
I guess season. We need to expand rosters, and we need to do it for now. What's your thoughts on expanding the rosters?
Well, injuries are a part of all sports: basketball, baseball, soccer, professional level sports. Injuries come standard. It's unfortunate, but at least one thing about the NFL is not like the NBA where they do this load management.
Oh God,
where
give me a start.
They don't let guys play.
Right.
So I mean so it's interesting that he brought that up, because here's the thing, and you remember this. You've had me on before, and you've asked me, and many people say, "Well, Box, who do you think the Bengals should draft?" And I always say, "I know you're going to hate to hear me say this, but the best player available, even if it's for depth."
Right.
And that's why they draft for depth, and not the guy that you say, "Well, why didn't they draft this guy? He's like a starting runner." And they like, no, we want some depth at this position. And that last question is why you seek depth, so that there's not a drop off. When you go from 1A, it's 1A1, not 1B.
Right.
And so when you have injuries, as he had alluded to, as we heard about today, as we saw over the years, you're hoping that that next guy is not that much of a drop off, that you can keep doing the things that you want to do. Um, let's look at last year in the quarterback position. Man, our backup quarterback came in, and everybody had their doubts because he was an unknown.
He wasn't even supposed to be the starting backup.
Right.
As Charles Simeon was supposed to be.
Right.
That's how crazy that whole thing is last year. How that worked
So
out for you.
so Browning comes in and plays lights out.
Mm-hmm.
Do you appreciate having a backup now? Sure, you do.
Exactly.
So if the Bengals draft a backup defensive end or a backup linebacker, and you say, "Oh, there's a wide receiver out there, and they didn't get whatever," but now when somebody gets injured, hopefully the depth at all positions is such that people can fill the void.
Now, speaking of depth, and this is the part that I wish they would have done a little bit more. It's got a little better depth on the offensive line, especially the interior offensive line. Now, Trent Brown, his practice was shortened today because he had back stiffness. Hopefully that's nothing big, but we already got our Marius Mims out for a couple weeks because of his pec. Beyond that, Colt Ford, I like him. Seems like it's like the rookie, the center. Is it Scott? I can't. His name crossed or slips my mind now. It's looking pretty good. But you got Jackson Carman, and I hate to keep bringing it up, but the dude had 3 holding penalties and a false start, and just did not look ready.
Yeah.
If one of these guys, the interior guys, get hurt, I'm worried about that box, and you're one snap away from that happening.
Well, Jackson makes plays. Nobody ever talks about the good plays he makes.
No. No. He played good in Buffalo, and I've pointed that out many, many times. Buffalo game, he played really, in that playoff game, he played really well.
It amazes me sometimes about fans is that a guy like Jackson Carman will make some plays and knock somebody off their butt and will jab somebody. Nobody says anything.
Right.
Then the minute he makes a bad play, everybody
that.
wants to pound on the guy. And I'm like, I'm not that guy, man. I'm looking for the good in everybody. And Jackson does a lot of things good. And yes, there's some opportunities for improvement. Sure. Like the rest of us, there are opportunities for improvement. But nobody's keeping somebody on the team for window dressing.
Right,
so he's got to be doing something right in the eyes of the coach and the head coach and the ownership when it's time for them to decide who makes the team and who doesn't. I just wish sometime, I don't know, man. I wish sometime people would look at the good that Jackson does, and I don't know, maybe it might be good for him to hear some positives,
right.
Whether he listens, reads, or pays attention, or his circle of friends and family tell him. I mean, it would be nice if people say, hey, Jackson, man, somebody really complimented you on the block you made on that run play or this, that. Who knows, man? They're kids.
Right.
We forget they may be 6'3" and 300 pounds and all that kind. They're still a kid. And in the brain, they have a kid brain and they have feelings, but we don't care. We love to bash people. That's what we do.
Hey,
I'm not one of them.
To be honest, I got an argument with one of my guests last week. I was defending Jackson Carman, saying that I think he's going to make the team, and he's like, "Oh, he's a flame pile of what?" And I'm like,
right.
He's like, and I brought up the Buffalo game. I say he played really well in the Buffalo game. We didn't need him last year. I mean, there wasn't really, nobody got hurt on excuse me, on the offensive line last year, so there wasn't any need for it. But I guess my point is not necessarily Jackson, but the interior line of just the guys that we have there. If Kappa goes down or if Volsa goes down. Our guards, I would like the Bengals who have got a little more depth there.
Yeah, I think that when you think about the interior, you think of like a guy like Cody Ford, who came over last year, so he's still learning the system and finding a rhythm with these guys, and that's one of the things that I think people kind of forget about with the offensive line. The offensive line is like 5 basketball players, right? So if you got a basketball team and 5 guys have been playing ball together for X number of games, years, season, whatever, they know each other. They know all the nuances. They know if something goes wrong. They can do a lot of silent count, hand motion signals, and only they know what it means. But when you put in someone new, they have to learn what those 4 other guys are doing as part of that 5-man basketball team. So I think Cody Ford just getting here. He's getting better, more comfortable. you look at some of the other guys, and they're just, DeAndre Smith and those kind of guys. Man, it's all about learning who you're playing with and how they play. And unfortunately, when you're a backup, you don't get a chance to develop a rhythm and chemistry with the starting group because you're not part of the starting group. So again, I think it's one of those things where fans expect a guy to come in the game and expect him right away to have a chemistry with the other four guys.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way. I mean, you said a basketball team. I mean, Dave
And a lot of defensive coaches will run stunts.
Yeah.
And things of that nature to try to confuse them, because the other guy that, say if someone's replacing Kappa or Volson or even Teddy Karras, and they come in and all of a sudden Trey Hill's the center now, and usually there's talking or fingers moving, everybody knows. Well, we got to communicate different now. Like, I need to understand what you mean if you press your hands down a little tighter on the ground. That's an unspoken signal that maybe I'm going to stay here or whatever.
Right.
And so fans expect the next guy to come in and everything be just like it was. It just takes time.
Exactly. Now, the other thing, I'm not trying to call Paul your regular on the show. I'm glad you're on here. But he said it's time for Frank Pollock to go. And I don't, like last year, did we have offensive line problems? I mean, everybody's like, well, Joe got hurt. I'm like, he got hurt on a regular tackle. It wasn't like a blown call or anything. And I think Frank Pollock has done a good job. I mean, I'm not here to sit there and say that Frank Pollock's got to go. Now, if the offensive line comes out and they have a horrible year this year, then you might have to look at that. But I don't get the whole thing with the concern with Frank Pollock, because look at the talent he was given when he first got here.
Right.
They have not had the same offensive line. Joe Burrow has not had the same offensive line in back-to-back years yet. This year, or Mims is going to be the starting tackle by the end of the season. Next year could be the first time he has the same 5 guys out there.
Right.
And Frank Pollock is having to move guys in and out and deal with injuries and different stuff like that. I don't think Frank Pollock has done that bad of a job. I think he gets a lot of hate, and we are so, since Burrow got injured in his rookie year, we are so stuck on the offensive line. And I try to tell people, like, look, if you look at the offensive line around the league, everybody's looking for offensive line help. Everybody is. Look at Baltimore. They got to replace 3 starting offensive linemen this year. That's not going to be easy right there. So everybody's always looking for offensive line help. Anyway, what's your thoughts on Frank Pollock? I'll put it that way.
I love
long comment there. Sorry.
No, I love Frank. I think he's a great coach, and the reason why I say it is 2 reasons. Number one, Dave Lapham talks to me a lot about offensive linemen because I talked to Dave about it, and I look at the players, Orlando Brown. I look at guys like that, and I say, how do you like Coach Pollard? And they rave.
Yeah.
And they rave about the guy. And so what I'm saying is, if Orlando Brown likes him, and Teddy Karras likes him,
right,
and Amarius Mims likes him, and Kappa likes him, and their face lights up when they talk about him, then for me, I'm good to go.
Those guys are a lot bigger than you and me. So if they like him, I like him. So I'm not going to mess with them.
Well, and the reason is Frank is a no nonsense guy. You've been down there. Frank tells it like it is. He doesn't bite his tongue. He speaks in a language that's very direct and blunt. And on and on and on and on and on. So I look at it this way. You've been around enough. If a guy doesn't like a coach, he'll tell you without telling you.
Oh yeah, you can tell. You'll be able to tell right away.
You say, how do you like Coach Pollard? Oh yeah, he's cool, man. He's cool. Yeah, he's not. No, because that's your way of just trying to keep peace. But these guys, when they talk about Frank Pollard, I asked Orlando Brown when he first got here. I said, what do you think about Coach Pollard? Oh, man, Coach Pollard, man, I like this dude, man. He's, he tells you straight like it is. And, like Lou Anarumo, man, these guys love coaches where there's no gray area.
Yeah.
Tell me what I'm doing right. Tell me what I'm doing wrong. Tell me how I can get better. And Frank Pollard fits that bill. So, again, it's all because of Joe Burrow. Mm-hmm. He got pressure when he got rid of the ball. I think that was the Houston Texan game when he actually hurt his hand.
No, it was a Ravens game, Baltimore.
Yeah,
Baltimore. That's what.
Yeah, and I thought in that Texan game, if you look back, that his hand hit somebody's helmet.
Yeah.
and he got through that, but it just became unbearable in the Ravens game, and he couldn't go back in the second half. But he got pressure up the middle. I mean, that happens in football.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you're waiting on the play to unfold, if it's a deeper route, and that happens. But the thing of it is, I know Karras was injured at the end of the season. Kappa was playing with injuries. And so those guys, man, were dealing with a lot of things, but people don't want to hear that. And so the blame game, they go from the players, and then if the players are hurt, they go to the position coach. The position coach, then they go to the offensive coordinator because they have to lay blame somewhere versus potentially saying, man, a couple of bad breaks here and there put us in a bad situation because Browning came in and had protection, was able to make some things happen, used his feet, yes, but he still was able to get some things done and move the ball around the field. So I think Frank is the right guy for these guys. I think you look at Mims coming in and the way he's teaching and coaching him, and the way Trent Brown comes in as a veteran, and Frank, having played in the NFL, knows what it takes. I think that's the other reason they respect him. He played in this league, won Super Bowl with the 49ers. So he's not a guy that just kind of through, a friend of a friend of a friend got a job as an offensive coach. He earned it.
Yeah, he's a been there, done that guy. And and some people, I think at first people liked the Frank Pollock isms, but when he's talking about Trent Brown was like a dancing bear out there, I heard more people complain about that now than they did at first. So I like Frank Pollock. Like I said, I think they're going in the right direction. Now let's talk about, I got knock on wood, Jackpot Joey Burrow. He's fully healthy so far through training camp, and I know he threw they say he threw like 3 interceptions today, but it was in the pouring down rain. And I always say this, in training camp they're working on stuff. He's making throws that he might not make during the game because it's practice. It does matter, but it doesn't matter. He wants to try to make, try stuff that see if he can do it or not. You've been down there. I've been down there. What's your thoughts on how Burrow has looked this year? Because I think if he stays healthy, 1, we're going to win the Super Bowl. 2, I think he's going to be the MVP of the league.
Well, Joe, let me start with the physical part of Joe. He's bigger. Mm-hmm. He's stronger. He's faster. It's evident. If you look at him, he's put on some muscle.
He's Jackpot Joey now.
He looks good. He worked on some speed and agility with his trainer. He talked about that. And he's throwing the ball extremely well, moving it all over the field, deep routes, crossers, out routes. He's making throws.
Right.
And, he's just looking good, man. And I think for Joe Burrow, the person, the player, the individual, and he has a chip on his shoulder, man.
He does.
I mean, he has a chip, a big chip on his shoulder, and it's not because of anybody or anything. It's his desire to be the best version of himself and not compare himself to, he's not comparing himself to anybody else. Joe Burrow wants to be the best version of Joe Burrow because he knows if he's the best version of Joe Burrow, it's good enough.
Yeah, you're giving me goosebumps here, Wayne. You're giving me goosebumps talking about this. But I see it too. That's why I'm like, oh, I can't wait.
Man, but I'm saying, and it's not just him throwing the ball. It's him talking. It's him barking. It's him doing a lot of things. It's him even not talking. He's at a place in his career where he realizes, these injuries, man, can derail your plans. So while you're healthy, you better get out there and get after it. I'm personally, as many of us are, you included, I'm so excited to see him play because I just know that it's personal for him.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
It's a Godfather Corleone family kind of thing. It's not personal. It's business.
It's business. Got to strict the beard when you say that there, Wayne.
And he's no Fredo.
Exactly. And now for the older people, you need to go back and watch Godfather to know what we're talking about. Us OGs know what the Godfather is and who Fredo is. So with that being said, Jamar Chase wasn't at practice 2 days ago. According to my buddy Skinny, his car wasn't in the parking lot when practice was over, but he's in Chicago. We haven't found out why. We probably never will. Where are you at on Uno? I mean, I'm to the point, like, I think 2 weeks out, he's got to start. I'm hoping he's going to start practicing by then, which is coming up here very, very shortly. When do you think Jamar will start practicing? Do you think he'll actually do it, hold out, miss the first game? Or I don't, but what do you think?
I think that these contract situations create a lot of variables, but the one thing it doesn't do, it doesn't get in the way of players wanting to play.
Right.
Didn't happen to T. Higgins. He's in camp. He's ready to go. It's part of the process of negotiating. I firmly believe that first game, Jamar Chase will be on the field, ready to go. I know that Jamar Chase stayed after practice a couple times, and with the jug machine catching balls, and I'm certain, can't prove it. I'm just me talking. I'm certain that he's working on his craft inside the stadium where nobody can see it.
That's what I think too.
and he just is too much of a player not to play. He knows what's at stake. And the contract will eventually get done. You just hope that it happens sooner rather than later.
Yes.
But I mean, it's tough. You give your quarterback a lot of money. Your wide receiver is going to require money. You've got a second receiver who many say could be a number one. You've still got other players on the team. I've often said unapologetically, the business of football has gotten in the way of the game of football.
That's true.
And we have to accept it. It is what it is. The business of football has gotten in the way of the game of football. And when you're talking billions of dollars that owners are splitting in TV revenue and things of that nature, it is a business. It's a big business. It's profitable. I think that the Dallas Cowboys, I just heard, went in valuation to $10 billion or something like that.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
So the NFL is such a hot global property. It's a hot global, not United States property. Is a hot global property. There are games now in Germany. There are already games in England. There are games going to be in South America this year. The games in Mexico. It is like the NBA is a global game. The NFL is rapidly becoming a global game. So the business of football is, unfortunately getting in the way of the game of football at times. And, economics are what they are, man. And you only got so much money. You have to decide, am I going to put some on offense and some on defense? I'm going to put most of it on offense and a little on defense. Am I going to put a lot on defense and less on, those are decisions you have to make. And again, that's why you keep drafting players like Josh Newman, and you get pleasantly surprised when they start showing everything that you thought they could be. Jermaine Burton. You start looking at these guys, man, you think to yourself, like, whoa, these guys are some players, man. And if they pan out, well, they're on the low end of the salary spectrum, so it gives you a little bit more room to potentially, I'm just saying potentially, say a guy that's making a lot more money, maybe we can get by with this guy, and then maybe we can just kind of balance the budget a little bit that way. But anytime you get guys that come out and play the way that Josh is playing, that the way Mims was playing before he got hurt, you have to be excited about that.
Exactly. Now, one thing, I'll go back to the money here, and this is where I think fans have got to understand, and it's hard because we as fans will never be in this position. Jamar Chase has a chance to make wealth beyond his life, wealth for his kids, his grandkids. I mean, that's where the money that these guys are talking about getting. And when you have that chance, you got to. And for a football player, their lifespan is in an NFL career. Even Jamar Chase, I mean, he's great. He can go out and get hurt, and his career and everything could be over like that. You got to be able to get the money when you have a chance. And I don't care what anybody says. People are like, they should do it because they want to win a ring. They should do it for the love of the game. Yeah, all that is true. But nobody out there can tell me you got a chance to make, $1 billion or a couple $1 million. You're not going to try to get as much money as you can. I mean, that's just human nature. Of course you're going to. So I hate that part, but I also understand that part. And football players, like I said, have the shortest career span. So when they get a chance to get their money, they got to get their money. And that's what I think is so unusual and noble what T. Higgins is doing.
Yeah.
Because he's not going poor. He's getting $21 million. But he is taking a chance, and he's been here for every camp or every practice at training camp. He hasn't missed anything, and he's looked really good. Now, that's also to help him because the more he balls out, the more money he's going to get next year. But that's where it's the two variables because T knows he's got to have a really good year this year to get his money next year. Jamar has already had the money. He's not going anywhere. He knows it. He just wants to get his money now. That's where the two differences, I think, are between Jamar and T of how they're handling their contract situation.
Well, T. Higgins is going to get paid wherever he goes. If it's
Right.
here or wherever he goes, he doesn't have to have a quote-unquote breakout year. He just has to keep being T. Higgins. He's so athletically gifted. He's freakishly talented. I mean, that one play alone where he reaches behind himself and puts the ball in the end zone, you can't coach that. You can't teach it. In a game, AFC championship game, and somebody needed a big play, he's a guy that can do that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's maybe 2 or 3 guys that can do that, and nobody else can do it. He's in a great position. He's smart. He came in. He's playing, practicing the whole night. Now, Jamar is in one of those unique situations where you're one of the best in the business already, but you're under contract. And it is sometimes I laugh, people sign contracts and then they don't want to honor the contract.
Right.
But then when the team doesn't want to honor the contract, fans are always up in arms about the team not honoring the contract. Why didn't you pay the guys 4th year? You could have paid him that 4th year. Why did you? Well, wait a minute. Which way do you want it?
Right.
The team basically signed you to a contract. You didn't have anything. You were a rookie. You got drafted in the first round, and you got paid.
Mm-hmm.
You got paid well. Now, that being said, yes, he deserves a new deal, whether it's this year or next year or whatever. But, you got to understand, again, as I said earlier, the business of football.
Mm-hmm.
This is the part we're on right now with Jamar Chase. We're in the business of football, and it gets in the way of the game of football. But I understand. It's just part of the deal.
And the thing is, if you take the Bengals side, they don't have to do anything. They literally don't. He is signed through this year. He's signed through next year. They literally don't have to do anything. If he misses practice, he's fined $40,000. That's in the agreement with the NFLPA. They don't have to do anything, So where everybody keeps getting upset with the Bengals saying, well, which I do a little bit too, because I want Jamar to play and I want him to be happy. But if you look at it from their side point of view, we don't have to do anything. Now, for me, I can see it this way too. It's like if you pay him now, I think the sooner they pay him, the less they're going to have to pay him. Like I think he's cheaper now than he will be next year because I think it's just going to go up. So, I understand both sides. And again, that's what sucks about this. There's football, and then there's the business of football, and I understand both of them. I don't like the business of football, but I understand it, and I like I said, I can understand both sides. So I can't ever say that I take the player side over the team side or whatever. I understand both sides most of the time. It's just
here's the funny part: if you owed money to Visa or MasterCard, your credit card company. And they said, you're paid up through next year, but we want you to give us some money now. Would you do it?
Nope. Absolutely not. There you go. Exactly. But I do want to talk about T. Higgins' play and this training camp. And, Wayne, I think he is on another level this year. The plays he's been out there making, to me, he looks already in midseason form. And that's what gets me even more excited about how good he's playing. And if he can stay healthy this year, because he was kind of in and out of the lineup last year, he stays healthy. And Jamar, and with the opening up of the offense, which I mean by that is I love Tyler Boyd, but with him being gone, there's lots of guys that can move into the slot. I mean, Chase could be one. Yoshivas could be one. Gesicki could be one. They can move. I think there's going to be more moving parts in this offense than there has been. And I think we got a chance of more deception because if you look at Bengals Twitter today, they showed a play action pass they did to Trenton Irwin. I think we're going to see more of that this year. I am very excited what pitcher and what this offense is going to look. It's not going to be a whole lot different than last year, but I think it's going to be more deceptive, I think, than the last couple of years.
Well, I think that, Gesicki, Tanner Hudson, Eric um, all Sample, all of these tight ends are going to be a difference maker in this offense. I think that, me personally, I think T. Higgins since he's been here. I think T. Higgins has made plays. You think back to that Buffalo playoff game where he high points the ball and just, I mean, he's just a freakish athlete. I think he's always been that. It's just that Zach and Joe Burrow have choices in weapons.
Yeah.
And those weapons and choices are a lot of times dictated by matchups.
Right.
And so if those matchups favor, you remember when Tyler Boyd was here, one of the things Tyler Boyd illustrated a lot when he didn't get a lot of balls, he said, look, I'm going to get my chances. This is me, it's T, it's Jamar, it's the tight end, and Joe Mixon is one ball. And everybody can't get the ball. And so Tyler Boyd understood the assignment. Like, hey, man, I'm going to get my chances. And when I do, I'm going to capitalize. Right. T is in the same boat. Jamar's the number one wide receiver. And they're going to look to get him the ball to make plays. But then they also look for T. Higgins. When they had those matchups, I'm trying to remember who they played. T. Higgins had a cornerback on it that was maybe 5'9", 5'10". And he ate the guy alive. But it was the matchup.
Right.
It was a perfect matchup for him. And so they went to that. And so I think one of the things that the Bengals do, and it'd be interesting to see now that they have a new offensive coordinator, Dan Pickler, that they do the same thing.
Right.
Man, you're looking for matchups.
Yes.
You're looking for a matchup
it's
where
a
your
chess
guy
game.
has an advantage over the other guy.
Exactly. It's a chess game. You're always looking for that matchups, and whenever you find that, you're going to keep going to until they stop you. I mean, that's basic football there. All right, Dustin's got a good one here. He says, Box, the amount of money college players are making in NILs, multi-millions, do you think that can have a negative downhill impact into the NFL? Natural to you losing your hunger as a human with that cash?
It's, for me, first of all, let me say this. For all of the Patrick Ewings and Kareem Abdul-Jabbars and Magic Johnsons and Larry Birds who were in college and
Michael
Jordan, and people making money off them. I'm glad to see guys getting paid, quite frankly, because these coaches getting all these Nike shoe deals and the players not getting anything. And it's, again, TV revenue that they get from college basketball is insane. And these guys don't get anything. And yet, if a guy comes from a poverty-rich environment, and he gets a burger from somebody, it's a violation.
Right, it was ridiculous.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it was crazy.
I mean, it's the absurdity of the NCAA that makes me happy for these guys. Now, if you're 19 years old, 20 years old, and somebody gives you $2 or $3 million, how are you going to be?
I wouldn't want to see myself at that.
Me either. I thought that I would want money at that age, and I probably would have ruined my life. Now, these guys, if the teams are sincere, and in most cases, I got to believe that somebody within that organization is sincere enough to say, you got this money, why don't we move some of this money over here and let your money make money? Will some guys get lazy? Yeah, just like in the NFL, the NBA, MLS, and Major League Baseball. There are guys that sign contracts and you go, man, they haven't done jack since they signed that deal.
Yep.
Well, these kids, some of them are going to make some money, get a brand new car, get frivolous with it, the whole 9 yards. But there are guys who want to get to that league, who are focused on getting to that league. So while they get their NIL money, and that's cool, like Caleb Williams. You remember Caleb Williams last year talked about, I may stay another year, the money I'm making with NIL.
Right.
And I laughed, and I told somebody, well, he's basically telling, as my mother used to say, a bold-faced lie. Because the money you make in the NFL and not having to go to class and the lifestyle and the endorsement deals, that you think you had a little money with your NIL deal, it pales in comparison to what awaits you in the NFL. So I think some guys by default in all levels of life will get soft when things get good. But those guys who want to make it to the league, who are determined to make it to the league, who are hungry to get to the league, they're not going to bother them.
Exactly. Natty Ron here wants to shout you out here. He said, Wayne, you're an icon on the radio. I look forward to hearing you this year.
Natty Ron, thank you. Let me say, man, I really thank everybody that listens to us. Um, I've been doing this a while now.
How long have you been on the Bengals pre and post game now? How long have you been doing that?
7 years. I've been doing radio for them 10 years, maybe longer. Doing like the Friday pep rally shows, the Wednesday game plan shows. Started off doing the Marvin Lewis Community Fund shows, doing Sports Rock on Channel 5. But man, I just appreciate people that listen to us because, it's really interesting, man. We're in like 30 different markets, 29. Like we're in Canton, Columbus, Lexington, Louisville, Huntington, Dayton, Ohio, Elizabethtown, Chillicothe, all these places where people listen, man. And that Super Bowl run, I was able to look at some of the numbers, and they were just through the roof of Bengal fans tuning in on the radio. And I'm always appreciative of those fans because, man, most of them may be driving.
Right.
Like going, coming in or out of town, which I've heard from people saying, hey, I was on my way in town or out of town, I listened, or people who work for a living that don't have access to a TV, they listen on the radio. And so for people that listen to your show, that watch your show, thank you. Appreciate you.
I appreciate you guys.
Yeah. I mean that sincerely, man, because you have choices.
Hey.
And to lock in on us, and I think, Dan Horde does such a great job. Dan Horde is probably the most relaxed broadcaster. I've been around a lot of broadcasters. He's one of the most relaxed broadcasters, and Dave is just, he's football, a walking encyclopedia, and he has his own. He's come out with a book of lapisms.
Yes, I totally agree with that.
Because he has some of the best. He has some of the best lines
and
of.
He just
of
comes
anybody.
up with it. He doesn't write it down. It's just in his head.
He gets it done, man. And so for us as a team to broadcast, to bring that game to fans, and to have people, have an interest to listen on the radio, thank you. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say that, and this is not me trying to kiss your butt or anything since you're on here, but I mean, I grew up, Marty and Joe were the icons on radio now. To me right now, it's Dan and Dave Lapham, and you doing the pre and post game. That's you guys are the icon voices of Cincinnati sports right now. You guys have been doing it the longest, and it helps that the Bengals are really good right now. But I mean, we look forward when we hear you come on the radio and say another season of Bengals season. It just gets everybody fired up when they hear, all right, box is on, we're ready to go. It's football time. And when we hear your voice and Dan's voice, it's football, man, and it's iconic. It really is.
The interesting thing about that is, thank you, man. I appreciate that. The interesting thing about that is, we're 2 days away from the next to last preseason game.
I know.
I mean, it once it starts, it goes.
Yeah.
And I was telling someone, think about this for a second. 2 days, there's preseason game number 2, and in 5 days, it's the third one. It's not a week.
Right.
It's a Thursday night game. So you're talking like, what, today is Thursday?
Yep. A week from
In
today.
1 week, the preseason's over.
Yep.
In 1 week, the preseason is over. We have 2 games in a week, and it's over. And then it's the cut down, and then that week in between the start of the first game to give the NFL a chance to make a whole lot of money, hyping it up for 2 weeks. But the reality is, man, the sense of urgency that players have trying to make rosters now is different than it's ever been. They don't have a lot of time. No. And you got to get your film and tape looking good because, again, it happens quickly.
It does. And that's what's – I'm honestly surprised that the Bengals got this schedule as far as having 2 preseason games basically in a week. But before you know it, football will be here. And – Wayne, I've said this the last couple years that I think we're going to the Super Bowl, but to me this year, Wayne, it feels different. They say the NFL's quote unquote scripted or whatever, but what would be a better script than Jackpot Joey Burrow, Jamar Chase going back to where they won the national championship in Baton Rouge and winning the Super Bowl? I mean, that's storybook, dude. I mean, I might not be able to afford to get tickets, but damn it, I am going to be in the city when this happens. I'm going to be there this time. I cannot freaking wait. I'm so damn excited. I just want to get through these last 2 games, have no more injuries, and let's get to this thing and get Joe Burrow healthy, through preseason healthy and everything. And I just got this feeling, dude. I do. This just seems different this year. I don't know why.
Well, I think it's going to come down to who we think it's going to come down to.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes versus Joe Burrow.
Uh-huh.
And I would not be surprised. And I'm not clairvoyant. I'm not Nostradamus or anything like that. But I would not be surprised to see the redemption of a game-saving play by Joseph Osai at the end of this year. So you have your feeling about the script and everything else. I just have a feeling if he stays healthy, that Joseph Osai is going to do something special toward the end of this year to cement a big win for the Cincinnati Bengals, whether that big play gets them in the playoffs, whether that big play gets them to the AFC Championship game, whether that big play gets them in the Super Bowl, or whether that big play wins the Super Bowl. I just believe that there's redemption coming for him because it was not malicious in nature. He was so aggressive last year trying to make a play, and the team rallied around him. I just have to say thank you, B.J. Hill.
Yes.
Thank you, Mike Williams, because they stood at the ready last year after that game, and they would not let that young man face that media scrum alone. And B.J. Hill forever has my respect. And if you go back and watch that film, go back and watch that interview, in the far off corner, Mike Williams is standing over there with a keen eye on the whole situation, making sure that if BJ missed something, he was going to step in. And I told both of those guys, I went up to him and told them, I said, man, listen, man, what you guys did forever has my respect, man. I just can't. It just gets me excited to know that those veterans understood what he was dealing with and said, you are not going to deal with this by yourself. And he deflected questions that weren't relevant and or important in the moment.
Yep.
And it just, man, I'm telling you, that to me is what team is all about.
Absolutely. That's what this team is full of, guys like that. And that's why Mike Williams, they call him Uncle Mike. So that's where that right there is team bonding. And I'll go one further, Wayne. I think Joseph is going to be our second best pass rusher this year. I really think if he stays healthy, and it's a lot, he's got to stay healthy. If you go back to the AFC Championship game, he was a beast on the field. He's
been a beast since he got here.
Yeah, he's making play after play after play. When he's healthy, he's hard to stop.
Ask Tom Brady.
Right, exactly. So that's where, like, if people have been kind of disappointed in him and stuff, but I'm telling you, if he's healthy this year, he's gonna be a player, and he's gonna be a game wrecker. I'm not gonna say he's like Miles Murphy or anything like that, but he's gonna be he can give Trey Hendrickson a run for his money, I think.
He's another guy on a mission. He's focused. He's ready. He's chomping at the bit, man. It's personal for him too. So,
and he's a great guy. I met him. He was at the Jack by Joe golf outing. He's an awesome kid. I mean, it's just, and that's Wayne. That's one thing. I don't know all the Bengals, but I met some of them. But almost to a T, all these guys are genuinely good people, and they
culture.
Yes, and they love each other. They have, just like you said, B.J. Hill and Mike had Osai's back. They all have each other's back, and that's the culture. That's the thing I keep banging the drum.
And Starks, you go back to Zach's press conference when he first got here. I wanted captains, co-captains. I want leaders. I want guys that understand that role. Mm-hmm. And so it's easy for a leader to follow because a leader knows what is required of those that follow him. And so if you were a leader in college and now you come in, it's your turn to follow, you understand what that represents and what it means. So there are a lot of leaders on this team. We lost some big leaders in Mixon and Boyd and Reeder and Mike Williams. But we've got leaders still on this team, Mike Hilton and guys like that, that are ready to step into a more prominent, dominant role. So I'm excited about what this team is going to do. I'm excited about their focus and their understanding that we are one of the better teams in the NFL. And now you just have to go out there and do it every week. And then you also have to understand, which veterans do, we have a target on our back. We were once doing the hunting,
Yep.
but now we are the hunted. And so, whether you wear Kevlar, whether you have night vision, whatever you need to be on the lookout, they're coming.
Yep.
And they're coming for the Cincinnati Bengals because they know to get to the AFC Championship game, you have to go through either the Bengals or the Chiefs.
Exactly.
And or both. But I don't see that happening. I think at the end of the year, it's going to be the same two teams. It's a rivalry. It's a good one. Matter of fact, it's a great one.
Yeah, it's
and
fun.
I look forward to it because number 9, when he's out there, man. I mean, trust me, we all know Mahomes is great.
Oh,
He got 3 rings.
Right.
But I'm telling you, man, that number 9, when I call him 9, I stop calling him Joe and stop calling him Burrow. When I call him number 9, what I'm saying is, man, in here and what the good Lord put in there for him, man, he's wired different, man.
Yep,
he's just wired different.
He's that dude, man. And that's that. I was, like I said, I always could be more happy when we drafted him because I remember back when he was trying to transfer out of Ohio State. I'm a big UC Bearcat fan, and there's a chance he might have went to UC. I'm glad he didn't because I think it worked out better in LSU. I'll never forget this. The Alabama game. Once I saw him, I'm going, I want that dude. I want that dude to be my quarterback. And I said, I hated this. The only time I ever rooted against the Bengals was in that Miami game. I wanted them to lose so we could get the number 1 pick and get Joe Burrow. That is the only time I've ever rooted against them. And I'm glad we lost that game because we got that dude. And that dude's going to take us to the Super Bowl. And I think it's going to be multiple Super Bowls. I've said that before. I think we're going to get more than one. But let's get the first one first. Yeah. Wayne, you've been on for 56 minutes, dude. I appreciate you coming on. I know school's about to start here soon. Aren't you going to be back at St. X here pretty soon?
Yeah, school's already in session, man. We're off and running. So we're good to go. The kids are in the building, the adults are in the building, and the energy is in the building. So,
how's your football team looking over at St. X? They going to have a good year?
Well, they got Coleraine tomorrow, and one of the preseason games, so to speak. So it'll be a chance to see them. We got two linebackers that are juniors that I tell you to keep your eye on, Jacoby Klepper and Aiden Reeder. These two kids could be special, man.
Nice.
They're both students in the classroom. They're students of the game. They come from great families, and they're really good guys, man. But physically, these are 2 nice-sized guys that they have at the backer position. And I just think they could be. I'm not anointing anybody anything. You earn it. But I think they could potentially be really special when they leave St. X High School.
Well, there you go. We have to keep an eye out for them. Like I say, you've been on now for 58 minutes. Guy, anything you want to plug or anything with a podcast or the Bengals game or anything you want to plug before I let you go?
No, just we're Saturday 11:30 countdown to kickoff on the First Star Logistics Bengals Radio Network, and we'll be off and running preseason game number 2. Turnaround Thursday night, the final preseason game at Paycor Stadium against the Indianapolis Colts, and then fasten your seatbelt, baby, because after that, first game will be at Paycor Stadium against the New England Patriots. Yes, and from there, it is on the road to Nowlands.
Nowlands, baby. And I can't wait for the Ring of Honor because my dude, Corey Dillon, clock-killing Corey Dillon's going to get the Ring of Honor. About time.
I said that's this Ring of Honor will feature the toughest Ring of Honor, as I said in the Countdown to Kickoff show last week. This Ring of Honor team is the toughest tandem. Nobody wanted the work Corey Dillon was giving them. They didn't want Corey Dillon's work.
8-man boxes all the time.
If you had Tim Crumry across from you should get hazard duty pay because he wasn't going to stop him. He's relentless. So, yeah, man, that's it. Just lock us in, follow us. Go to the website, Bengals.com, check out the articles and great work by Jeff Hobson, the features by Marissa Contapelli. Check us out, man, and you keep doing what you're doing, man. There's so many great Bengal podcasts that guys like you're doing to just keep the name and the game alive. So you keep the names and the game alive, and we appreciate that, brother.
Hey, man, I appreciate you guys coming on. I'm just some random Bengal fan on the podcast, so I appreciate you guys giving me a time of day because you don't have to do that. And so every time you guys come on, I'm very, very happy that you come on. So I thank you a lot, Wayne, and thanks for your friendship and chatting to you on the practice field and everything. It's been fun this year, and I'm going to see you in New Orleans. We'll have some fun there.
All right, brother, my man. Appreciate it.
See you, Wayne. Take it easy.
Okay, brother.
Bye-bye. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Wayne Boxmiller is the freaking man. He's an awesome dude. He's so freaking nice. Like, seriously, you guys ever get down to practice and you see him walk around, just say hi. He'll come over and talk to you. He's the coolest dude. Seriously. I cannot wait. Seriously, I got goosebumps like twice on that show. Listen to him talk. Man, it was awesome. Anyway, thanks for watching. I've been live streaming on ZTV Online, YouTube, Facebook, X, Twitch. You can also follow me on all those, along with follow me on Instagram, Threads, and TikTok. And starting week 1, we will be at the Moorline Lager House for our pre-game tailgate party. It's going to be a party. It's going to be fun. There's going to be delicious Moorline food, delicious Moorline beer. There should be former Bengals there. I'm going to be there. Bengals captain might be there. You never know. Some guy named Zim Hude might show up every once in a while. Got some stuff in the works. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's so much stuff I want to tell you, and I can't. Not yet, anyway. It's going to be so much fun. I'll be there each and every Bengals home game and live every Tuesday night during the football season. We're going to have some really cool stuff going on there. So please, between now and then, go enjoy some delicious morning food. Go there tomorrow. Go watch the Bengals at 1 o'clock, or get there at 11, get there early. And that's where I might be watching the game tomorrow. I think that's probably where I'm going. So check it out, Moorline Lager House. And if you have not been to Midwest Best Barbecue, I ask the same question every single time. Why the hell not? Get out there. Off I-275, Ward's Corner Avenue exit. Tim and Nicole are awesome, awesome people. Huge Bengal fans. They've named their wings after current and former Bengal players. You got the Dillinator wings that they just came out with, which are delicious. You got the CTB wings, which are delicious. You got the Uno wings, which are delicious. You got the original. You got the G-Funk. You got the Grippo, the pulled pork sandwiches, the chili. There's so much stuff. I'll say, take a dart and throw it at the menu and pick something. I guarantee you'll like it. Again, that's Midwest Best Barbecue. Also, the show is brought to you by Meyer Windows and Doors. You can check them out at www.meyercincinnati.com for all your window and door needs. I got them in my house. I highly recommend you get them in yours. They're energy efficient, easy to clean, and they look great. And you can get Jackpot Joey himself, the originator, Matty Myers, show up, and you guys can talk golf. You can talk windows. You can talk football. He likes to talk. So, again, that's Meyer Windows and Doors at www.meyercincinnati.com. And from our West Side peeps, if you don't want to make it down to the Moorline Lager House tomorrow, you can go check out Hail Mary's, your ticket to the game right there in the heart of Cheviot. They got a big-ass TV screen, beer specials, free parking right across the street. Food trucks. It's an awesome, awesome place. Go check it out. Hail Mary's, your ticket to the game. And if you go in there and say, hey, I heard about you guys in Strawberry Ice, I appreciate it. Other than that, you guys have a wonderful day. We got a show tomorrow. It's going to be early again. And I'm going to have my boy, Sim Hude, is going to be on with me. And we are going to be fired up, ready to go, talking about how good the Bengals are going to be this year, how much fun we're going to have at the games, how much fun it's going to be going to New Orleans. God, I cannot wait. You guys throw it up with me. Ready? And that's just sports, baby. See ya!
They still gotta play us. Let's go, baby. Woo!
Hey, don't run that ball on the one hover, showed you how that go down. Feeling like Santino, tell him we want all the smoke now. We ain't snooping that commercial, we don't put no smoke down. Plus we back and you can't hide, so it ain't nowhere safe to go now. And we always gon' turn up in that jungle every time. How we ain't gon' win when we loaded in with 9? Plus T just came in signed, so the city gon' be fine. Jamar say he open every time and he ain't never lied. Look at how we win at it, the size of the old line. Giving Burrow extra time should be a federal crime. Hey, we right back on that path again. Put The division back to the test, they won't pass again. Orlando and Trent Brown, that's the Tower Twins. Feel like we only getting better as we stacking wins.
And we stacking.
Jaceki in for 6, that's a gritty again. AFC North battles getting gritty again. It's Yoshi's second year, we just brought Burton in. Vaughn back to ring some bells, get the cracking again.